your micro.
Tia's not gonna
Swallow the microphone.
T has not come on yet. I don't.
No, I have Tia's proxy.
Yes, I got
He
that
said he
here.
might try and zoom in.
And David Welchel, I have David Welchel's proxy. First order of business, open forum. We have nobody signed up. The third order of business, the board management response to any open forum questions. Next up, legal review from the rulings on July 6th. Doug?
As the board knows, we had a hearing last Monday, so a week ago Monday, and now it's about 10 days ago, and it was an all-day meeting, all-day hearings with the judge. We didn't get out of there till after 6, and so the judge had lots of issues to rule on in the McComber case. There were several rulings that were involving the POA and what I would consider very favorable rulings. So the paperwork for that will be finalized in the next couple of days, and once it's actually filed with the court, then I can give a further update to the board about the rulings in that case. Until it's made public, I prefer to wait until that's actually filed to make a public announcement about that. And that should be, like I say, in the next couple of days, so hopefully next week I can give a further update on that.
Thank you, Doug. The next order of business, the board has chosen a replacement for the next year until the next election. That member chosen was Mike Abb. Mike is here today. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
The next item is the fire training land that we lease to the city, involves eminent domain. Tom, you want to handle that?
So several years ago, the board authorized the leasing of land at Chelsea and Tudor for a fire training center, which has the potential to lower each and every property owner's homeowner's insurance. Can't guarantee you that, but has the potential. Right now, to do fire training, they have to send them, I think, down to Rogers or Springdale. This would allow the city to keep the firefighters on site. In case there was an emergency, they could then halt the training and then immediately go to where the emergency is, as opposed to having to drive back from another city. Earlier this year, the tax increase was approved, and this was one of the items which would be funded through that tax increase. Now, the city can't build on leased land. They have to own it. So what they've done is they've come to the board and they've said that they would like to eminent domain it. They then went out and they got an appraisal, and the property was appraised for $110,000. And there's kind of I'm gonna call it a friendly eminent domain and an unfriendly eminent domain. A friendly eminent domain is that we do not fight it, we don't go to court and so forth, and we have the potential, or we would get the $110,000, and then the city would own it. For lack of a better term, an unfriendly eminent domain was we would go to court, we would fight against it, and in all probability we would lose. And there's also a possibility that the judge would potentially come back and say that $110,000 is not the correct number and maybe it should be less. So, and it would also delay construction by as much as 6 months. In our opinion, it does not make any sense to block this. Chief Sims has spoken directly to the two homeowners that live within a half mile, and the city is willing to send out notices to every property owner, improved and unimproved property owner, to notify them. Going back to Chief Sims' conversation, they have, in speaking with those two people, those two homeowners, it was very favorable, because then they would have firefighters closer to their home in case there was an emergency. The city has plans that have been put out. You can get those from the city, but we feel that it's in the best interest of the community to have this fire training center. Any questions?
Is the description of the property and a map on the city's website?
To my knowledge, yes. They've had some public meetings. We do have, evidently it is a 4-story structure, mainly concrete. Now this is, if you go down, if you take a visit of Chelsea and Tudor, you'll see that it's kind of at the bottom, very bottom of a ravine. It's definitely land that the POA is not currently using, and I don't anticipate we'll ever use it. And there is common property all the way around this piece of property, this 10-acre parcel. So it's not like a situation where then a property owner will not have common property between them. They will still have common property between them and the fire training center. And according to the diagram that they provided, looks like the majority of the buildings will be towards the road, which makes sense. The land is kind of long and narrow, and it tapers off as it goes into the valley. And right now they do not show any permanent structures that would go into that back portion. So at almost $11,000 an acre. For land that we previously were getting $1 a year for a lease. I think it's a pretty good idea. But most of all, it'll improve the training for our firefighters.
You want to just clarify the difference between the land being taken by eminent domain versus selling it? We're
Doug,
not
why don't you-
selling it.
You jump in on that one.
Correct, yeah. The city knows that the POA cannot sell common property without a membership vote, that it would take a membership vote to actually sell the property. So they elected to exercise their right to enforce eminent domain on this piece of property. So again, the board doesn't have the authority to sell it or give it up to the city, but through eminent domain, it actually goes through the court process. The judge reviews it, and then a judge would sign off on that eminent domain. So the important thing to remember is, they've told us we're going to take this by eminent domain. As Tom mentioned, if it's friendly or unfriendly, the only thing that you would be challenging, in essence, if you go the unfriendly route, would be the value of the property. And then in that case, it could go either way. It could be, the judge would take what it's been assessed at, or could go lower, could go even a little bit higher. But in reviewing with Tom, we feel like that's a fair appraisal for that property.
Any additional questions on that?
Okay. Next item, we have nominations for the Recreation Joint Advisory Committee. We have 2 nominations. These have been vetted by the Recreation Committee, forwarded to us for our formal approval. These 2 persons are Scotty Smith for a 3-year term and Denise Klinger for a 3-year term. We will vote on those. We'll vote on those next week. The next item is Recreation and Lakes Committee's special events.
Do you mind if I jump in?
Not at all.
So with the board's approval of the changes to policy 3.04, which requires a vote of either the board or of a committee for special events, in most of the conversations we had regarding that, we were always talking about 21 in January. But we didn't want to lose sight that we're halfway through the year, and we want to make sure that we acknowledge events that may take place this year. COVID is definitely making that very questionable as to what events will take place and will not take place. So on page 15 of your board packet, you'll see the different events that would take place or have taken place or have already been canceled and so forth. The one change that I need to make on this memo, on page 16, you'll see the KBF kayak fishing tournament that was canceled also. So what the board asked of management is that we go to the respective committees, and we're talking primarily of the Lakes Committee and the Rec Committee, and talk to them about this coming year's events, and have them reconsider that. Now, one of the things that we made comment of in these meetings is just because we've had these events for years and years does not necessarily mean that we continue to have these events because of the 2020 plan. We don't want to just assume that the events will go forward. And so last week, the Lakes Committee made the recommendation that we approve the kids fishing tournament. And on Monday of this week, the Recreation Committee voted on the events listed here, which is the Cancer Challenge trap shoot, the Youth Hunter Education, and the Paddleboard Kids Camps. The first two are still tentative, and they might, frankly, they may get canceled. The Paddleboard Kids Camp is still is actually occurring at this time, I think. So we just wanted to make sure that since the policy change was mid-year, we didn't want to just make assumptions that these events were okay for 2020. We wanted to take the proactive approach and just make sure that we discuss them, the committees discuss them, and they've made their recommendations. But going forward, our plan is for in January of each year, we would look at the entire calendar for the year and discuss it at that time, months and months in advance, to give the committees lots of time to ponder over those. And to also another item is they wanted to make sure, board member wanted to make sure that we included in the agenda so that it's not a surprise to any community member as to a vote being taken. Okay. Any questions?
On page 16, the list of events not yet discussed, those were discussed Monday at the Rec Committee, and they were all approved.
I'm sorry, yeah. I got those reversed.
Oh,
My first day back from vacation, so I didn't read it clearly.
okay.
And like I was saying, a lot of those, who knows whether we'll have the Christmas bazaar or not. It's hard to say at this point.
Well, when I look at these events, I think how lucky Bella Vista is in the current state of social distancing that we have such great recreation events that are kind of meant to be spread out, like the fishing and kayak demo day. I mean, those are great. We're lucky to even be able to have any events at all. Nobody's got anything going on, and we've got ones that we can at least have, so that's good stuff. Oh, wow, yeah, that seems to be the case around the state, huh?
Any other discussion? Okay. Next item, emergency capital items for the water department. Kind of a safety issue. Got a couple pieces of equipment that have reached the end of their life and worried continuing repairs, and a safety issue for the continued use of those items. They'd like to replace them.
Mhm.
Tom, would you elaborate further?
Yeah, right now, the water department is having an outstanding year. They're better than bottom line budget, or the EBITDA budget, by $461,000. And two reasons for that. One is all the new homes that are being built. That's contributing quite a bit. And the other thing is COVID, with so many people being home. When you're home, more water is being used and so forth. So we're having a very good year. And we're having trouble staying, staying up to speed and providing great customer service. One other thing that's occurred is the workflow has increased because with the 2020 budget, we approved a leak detection technician and equipment that would allow us to better detect leaks. And that has proven to be very successful in finding more leaks, but in finding more leaks, we have more repairs to do. So between all the additional construction of new homes and with all the leak detection that's going on, our staff is very, very busy. And so we're asking for the purchase of an additional vehicle that is, needed to be able to get people out to the job site and repair those things, those leaks and so forth. And then, as David referenced, we also have 2 trailers that were originally purchased in 2004, and we had 2. It could have been pretty bad where wheels came off and wound up in the ditch. I mean, it could have been a bad situation, and we repaired them, but they are beyond their useful life. They get a lot of wear and tear. We use them quite a bit, and so the trailers are definitely a safety issue, and then the additional vehicle is because we want to make sure that we continue to provide superior customer service to our customers, and we're falling behind in some areas because of the water, the leak detection, and the new services and so forth. In some cases, when a home is being built, we are given ample advance notice, and the person, they're halfway through construction, so forth, and then other times we find out at the last minute, and the new homeowner is, chomping at the bit to get into their home, and they want the water meter, so forth. So we want to continue to provide great customer service. So, any questions?
I'm fine with it. I mean, you say that they're $460,000 up right now, so they're flush enough to afford a vehicle, so I think it's fine.
Yeah. And when you make more, you have to spend more. I mean, that's when you have more customers, you need more staff, you need more equipment, you need more, you just need more.
Trying to keep up with the service. Okay, next item, treasurer, Tom?
So each year, there is no memo in your packet on this one. Each year, we take a vote. We did this last month, and it's naming officers, which is required by the state. I'm the president, Doug is the vice president, Tammy is the secretary, Roxy is the assistant corporate secretary, and Dwayne Mitchell formerly was the treasurer. Dwayne is no longer with us. He was our CFO, and so we're asking that Stacy Higgins, our controller, be named the treasurer. Stacy will be taking on a large amount of Dwayne's responsibilities, but she will still maintain the title of controller. We do not plan on replacing the CFO position right now. We definitely have a very large accounting department. When you have 14,400 water customers and 39,000 POA landowners, it requires you to have a large accounting department, but it's not so large that we need both the controller position and then the CFO position. So this change will allow us to save some payroll money and hopefully make us more streamlined and so forth. Also, Tammy is taking on some of those responsibilities, the insurance and so forth, because she's one of our rock stars. So what we're asking the board is, even though we took a vote last month and Dwayne was made the treasurer, we need to take a new vote this coming month, next week, and name Stacy as the treasurer. Any questions?
We're not overloading Tammy, are we?
She'll beat me up if we do. I'm pretty certain on that.
Well, Tom, I think that that's really great skills for the other associates to learn that Dwayne was doing faithfully for so many years. So we'll take a moment to thank Dwayne for all his efforts over the years to get us to this spot, and look forward to seeing other people grow in their skills and being able to hold the torch as well as Dwayne did. So looking forward to it.
Any other questions? Okay.
Next item is kind of along the same line. Every year, we have 3 persons designated to sign on the bank accounts. And those persons are the president, chief operating officer, the treasurer, and the chairman of the board. So next week, when Stacy is voted on formally to be the treasurer, then we will have change of signatories. I will be signing, Stacy will be signing, Tom will be signing. Anything over a certain amount has to be signed by 2. So you don't have to worry that one person's going to run off with the money. There are safeguards in place. So that's a little bit of housekeeping that'll be tended to. And from then on, we have an update on rules and regulations. Mary, were you going to handle that?
Yeah. Next week at the board meeting, we'll be voting for the first time on changes to policy 1.07. Specifically in the open forum section, we've added to the policy guidelines to be followed when we go, if we go again to totally virtual meetings, so that that's been codified for us. Also, we've added a section, alternative to attending the board meeting, which encourages people to send email questions to the board at any time during the month. These changes are all on our website under members, governing documents under review.
So they're available for any member who would like to see exactly what's being stated,
Right.
what be changed. So, is there anything else? Any new business? In that case, the announcements. Next week, Thursday, at 6 p.m. in the boardroom, the regular monthly meeting. The Board of Directors, General Managers meeting, August 13th, will be here. That is a closed meeting. The work session for next month, August, will be 9 a.m. in the boardroom right here on August 20th. The regular session for August is the 27th, a Thursday, at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. If there are no other, Mary?
Yeah, I'd just like to go on record as saying that Tom and his staff have done an exemplary job of adapting to the new rules and regulations coming from the governor's office relating to the pandemic. It's been a case study kind of event as far as I'm concerned. I mean, everything that you've done, you've been proactive. You're better than the requirements from the governor. I mean, you go into Lake Point or BV's when it reopens, the tables are like 20 feet apart. I mean, it's pretty amazing what you've been able to accomplish.
Hey, we've been getting a lot of comments on how we're, I think that's, well, first of all, I appreciate the compliment. We have a very strong team. And, we're following the guidelines, and it's making people feel comfortable to come out to the restaurants, play golf, and so forth. And they may not feel comfortable if we weren't following those guidelines. We still get a lot of comments. People want us to be more restrictive or less restrictive, and we just follow what the Department of Health from the state of Arkansas is telling us to do. That's what we do. We don't get into that debate. So, thank you.
I would like to, emphasize what Mary said. It seems that our team of management has done a very good job of anticipating potential problems, and when one of those problems pops up, they've already talked it over and they seamlessly handle the situation, and that's to the advantage of our membership, that our membership is being taken care of. Our membership is being taken care of by the management, and I really do appreciate the effort and thought that you put into it. So, that being said, I'm ready to adjourn. Jan?
I see we have the updated policies on 3.03 and 3.04. The recommendation was made to review these again because there were some other areas. Do you know if the Rules and Regs Committee is doing that?
We will.
We have a meeting set up.
That's on,
We have a meeting set up for rules and regs, correct?
no, at this point.
But we're going to be.
Right, and that will be the topic.
Correct.
3.03 and 4.
So Jan, you are 100% correct, and that will be one of the topics that's going to be covered in the next Rules and Regs Committee
All right,
meeting.
thank you.
Meeting is adjourned.